Today we are going to talk about disease outbreaks at the farm. We have many diseases. We always face different diseases and outbreaks at the farm. But we have noticed that most of our farmers out there, they don't know how we handle outbreaks at the farm. When we get an outbreak, yes, how do we handle it that it does not spread to other animals? First of all, when you are constructing a goat's house, there are some of the things that we have to put into consideration. One, we have to have the main house for these animals, and then we have to have the quarantine section. Why do we put the quarantine section? We put the quarantine section just in case of these outbreaks, just in case we have these disasters at the farm. That's why we build a quarantine section. That if you have some diseases like goat pox, when you face the goat pox, that disease that brings up out lesions on the skin of the animals, on the body surface of the animal, what do you have to do? You have to quarantine that one goat. You have to do what we call isolation. You isolate it from other animals, then you put it into the quarantine. When we put it into the quarantine, we expect you to give this animal special care, special treatment, and special feeding. That feeding calls in for supplementary feeding. Why do we go in for supplementary feeding? Because this animal is sick. It's very, very sick. So it needs to be supplemented to ensure that it at least feeds on the animal, on some feeds, because the drugs that we administer into this animal, for them to work, the animal has to be feeding such that these feeds act as these feeds in the animal's body are turned into energy that will enable these drugs to work in the animal. So we put this animal in the quarantine and we give it special care and treatment. Why do we put them in the quarantine? When you leave one animal, when you leave one infected animal in this yard or in this section where we have many animals, you will find that it's spreading the disease to many different other animals. And you cannot treat the outbreak when all the animals are sick, because when they all get affected, it means that even the mortality rate will increase. You find that if you were to lose two animals, because now there are many animals that are sick, the mortality rate will increase. And the costs of the drugs will also increase, because it's always easier to treat a few animals than to treat many animals. That's why we put a quarantine section. And in the quarantine section, it's where we have to treat this animal symptomatically, because most of these outbreaks or most of the diseases that cause outbreaks, they don't have cure. But what do? We treat the signs and symptoms. We follow what we call symptomatic treatment. That what has the disease, what signs does the disease show or present? Then you see that it has lesions on the body. Then you find that which drug can I use to treat these lesions? You treat. You find that what will it bring? It brings about cough. Then you find what do I use to treat cough, and many other things. So that's the reason as to why we have to put our animals in the quarantine, and that's how we deal with disease outbreaks at the farm. And one other important thing is that when you have an outbreak on the farm, I advise you not to vaccinate any animal. We only vaccinate animals that are not sick. We don't vaccinate sick animals, because when you vaccinate sick animals, those are other problems. These vaccines are made out of the viruses themselves that cause those diseases. They are the viruses that they are used to make the vaccine or to manufacture the vaccine. So what's the logic behind this? When you vaccinate a sick animal, since this vaccine is already a virus, but this virus is not that very virus or the active virus, this is like a virus. So when you put this virus, or when you administer this vaccine into the animal's body, what does it do? Since it looks like a virus, what it will go and alert the white blood cells to manufacture more white blood cells. The body will manufacture more white blood cells to fight against disease-causing germs. But the white blood cells are being manufactured on a wrong virus, because this is just a vaccine. It's not the real virus, but it resembles the real virus. So the body will manufacture more antibodies to fight against that virus. So that's why we vaccinate. That we vaccinate to increase the number of antibodies that will fight against a virus. So when you vaccinate a sick animal, it will eventually die. That's why I don't call for vaccination of sick animals. You should only vaccinate live animals. Thank you for listening. Think you have known how we can deal with outbreaks on the farm and how are we supposed to vaccinate. I remain Samuel Muwonge, a vet in YPA.